Hey guys, it's Dylan with FAWC. We just want to give you guys some insight on the wrestlers and the people behind the wrestlers and behind the scenes. Today we're here with
Justin Igualada.
Justin. We have some questions that fans and others have sent in. I've printed them out for you, so I'll go ahead and ask you them. He has not seen the questions yet, so it'll be off the top. And at the end, hey man.
He's gonna be eating toes the whole time.
After I have a game, because you know you're an alligator wrestler, you gotta be fast, right? You gotta be fast with your hands.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll go first question. How did you get started with it? Did you just wake up one day and decide like, I'm bored of like, let me just go play with something that could kill me?
For me, the alligator wrestling stemmed from a lifestyle, and this is like a lifelong thing. My father used to do all the wildlife stuff back in the day, so he trained the sea lions at the Miami Aquarium. We did a lot with, he had all kinds of animals growing up. You know, my first childhood memory is a sea lion in the house. Like that's how we
In the house?
In the house, yeah. He raised AJ the sea lion in the house. So we had like all kinds of shit, tons of animals in the house. It was always a wildlife thing. My father is a lot like me. He just never did the extreme alligator wrestling and all that good stuff. So we always had crocodiles, alligators, venomous snakes, you name it, we had it. So growing up in that lifestyle, I already knew from a very young age what I wanted to do when I was older. And it wasn't alligator wrestling per se, but I knew I wanted to work with wildlife. So I think I was like, shoot, man, I was probably maybe 18 or 19 when I hooked up with, as a matter of fact, the first person I met in that whole scene was James. So I linked up with James, started working with the Seminoles at Oakley Village, and kind of fell into the whole alligator wrestling part of that. So once they found out I was good at that, you know, John Jones was the manager at the time, and he didn't want to do that shit anymore. So once they found out I was good at that, it was like, all right, you're in.
All right, since you mentioned you growing up with the sea lion, I've never heard of that. That's the first time. Where did you grow up exactly?
We were born in Miami. So right down the street from here, for anybody that's watching like outside the state or wherever, it's South Florida. We're still in South Florida, but way down. And then we moved into this area, Plantation, Florida, when I was young, like super young, 2 years old. So we grew up literally right down the street from where we are here, and yeah, that's how we did it. Sea lions in the house. You know,
what else in the house?
You get everything. You get the sea lion was obviously belonged to Miami Aquarium, so it was like an in and out kind of thing, like it went back and forth raising the baby. But we had everything, dude. We had alligators, we had crocodiles, we had the regular stuff like iguanas, things like that, tons of snakes. I used to go when I was younger to Strictly Reptiles. Everybody knows who Strictly Reptiles is if you're in the business, if you're in the industry. It's an importer-exporter, and we would go over there to try and pick up like geckos and stuff off the wall. So anything I caught in the wild, we brought home. So it was like, dude, if you got another 2 hours, we can go through the list of stuff that we grew up with. You know, they're gonna do, they work it out, they try and figure out like, you know, months beforehand or years beforehand, and they train and practice these stunts and this and that. I do the shows every single day of my life and have for the last, 15 years, 16 years. So I kind of just go in there and wing it. So I always feel good. And for me, I just, it's a positive
So
thing.
if you wing it, you don't prepare nothing,
No.
People have like special rituals that they do or whatever it is.
For me, it's
for good luck or nothing.
Yeah, I don't believe in good luck. So for me, it's more of I feel the situation out. So if I plan too much of anything, it'll never go according to plan, and then I'll be overthinking what I'm trying to accomplish instead of just letting it flow naturally. So I think for me, like, all the competitions were good, but like I said, I go in there and I feel out the animal itself. You know, I want to see how he's reacting. You know, we don't know how big they are. It's all random. We don't know how big it's going to be, how nasty it's going to be, or if it's going to be one of those alligators that just doesn't do much. So I feel the situation out, and I kind of work with what I got.
Okay, now because of your finger, that happened, what, 2 weeks ago?
This one.
Yeah, that is nasty. Yeah, that one. How long? No, that's not good. All right, we're good. How long ago did that happen?
What are we at? 2 weeks now? 2, 3 weeks? I think we're at like 3 weeks. I think we're 3 weeks now. 3 weeks.
When are you gonna make your 9th competition appearance?
Oh man, I think I've retired from the competitions for like 4 years now. Every year. I'm like, okay, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you for letting me do this, and appreciate you for letting me put. I'll probably
make another comeback.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If we go outside the state and we're going to do new shit, yeah, I'm gonna be a part of that 100%. Otherwise, like, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm getting old, but I'm getting older, and dude, the reality is that, like, I've done at least anywhere from 2 to 10 alligator shows, sometimes way more than that, per day, every single day for the last 15 years. So, like, you get a little bit burnt out on that.
What else do you do at your job besides just alligators?
For me, you know, I'm a business, and from Oakley, I did the TV show. From the TV show, I put all my money into the business, and I bred and sold rare reptiles and imported rare reptiles into the state, and I did that for years until, like, morally I couldn't do it anymore because of the fact that, like, you know, I take a lot of care of these. I care a lot about the animals that I have. Like, I've always been like that. That's how I was raised. Like, I truly give a shit, you know, if the animal lives or dies or does well. Yeah. So, you know, you put all this effort into it, and then you get phone calls from people just doing stupid things that put the animal in danger or kill the animal, and the money was phenomenal. I never made that much money in my life, still haven't to this day, but morally it was just something that I couldn't deal with it. The money wasn't enough to push at. So I got rid of all that stuff. Now I'll do consultation work, go to different parks, zoos, and I'll either train animals to get, you know, what these people are looking for out of that, or I'll train their staff to be able to deal with the situations. Right now, we have a couple of different things in the works. I do the YouTube thing or whatever, so I have that. And then I have a park down the street, the Jungle Queen, Fort Lauderdale, that I have my permits there, I have my animals there, and essentially, you know, they can't have animals without that, so I provide that for them, and then I also work on their staff and make sure that, you know, number one, that the animals are good, that they're in good condition, you know, make sure that they get the best of vet care, the best food, and all that stuff, and then, you know, I'll work on the staff and keep all that together. And so I work with all kinds of different animals, primates, you know, we've done, I got permits for big cats, bears, different primates, alligators, crocodiles, venomous snakes, you name it, and, you know, I'm fairly well-rounded.
Outside of your job and outside of the 6-minute free funk round, what is your life like?
Life is, I mean, I guess it's fairly normal. I spend a lot of time with my kids, the old ball and chain and all that good stuff, and I surf, man. I surf as much as I possibly can. So realistically, for me, like, I try to wake up every day and live life to the fullest.
Speaking of your family, do they, like, still think that you're crazy, or are they used to it?
No, I think they're used to it now. Whereas, like, before, like, any bite, cut, scratch, or whatever, like, freaked everybody out. Now, like, a serious bite will.
So, all right. So jumping off that, then, when they got the call that you got your finger bit off, what was the initial reaction?
We won't tell my mom or shit like that until, like, after we're done dealing with the issues. So, like, the rest of the family knew, and they were cool with it. It was a finger. Most of them were there. I had my older brother and my twin there, so they saw it all go down. The kids were there. Everybody saw it go down. So I think the way that I handle situations like that, you know, for anybody, dude, like, nothing changes. Like, it's just, it happened or whatever. I would freak out. Like, I deal with the situation as it comes or whatever. So I think that helps calm them down. But again, like, we don't tell our mom, so that shit's done.
How many times have you gotten bit?
Ooh, man, that's a heavy question. I would say probably well into the hundreds right now. I mean, if you look, like, every little scar, Here, you can get it on camera here. So I'm missing all my knuckles here. These two are gone. The thumb knuckle is gone, but you can't see that as much or whatever, but it's gone. I can't move my thumb the same way as the other one. This thumb was almost taken off, so there's the scar for that, and it comes around. I almost had the whole hand was filleted open here. You can see like all the little scars everywhere, all over the fingers, here, 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 here. So all of these little scars are, you know, bites. Generally speaking, when you're taking a bite from an alligator, it's usually like a little puncture holes. Here, I'll show you. So usually what you'll get, this is a perfect example.
The foot.
Yeah. Usually what you'll get is just the teeth marks. It's just a little puncture wound. So that's like a perfect jaw right there, like the half the jaw around the foot. So usually it's just...
Isn't that video, sorry to cut you off, isn't that video on YouTube?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, the video's on YouTube. It's not very graphic or anything.
We'll put it at the bottom of this one.
Yeah, it's not very graphic or anything. Like, it's underwater, so you can't really see. But you can see when I got bit and then when I get out.
He almost pulled you in.
Yeah,
no,
it was kind of like a jaw situation. Like, you see my leg go for a second and then he lets it go. But that's usually how it works. I mean, there's like a bite, and usually, if you're lucky, they'll just immediately release, so you end up with just like a tiny puncture wound or something like that. So, well into the hundreds. As far as serious bites, probably 6 or 7. I've had my face like split wide open, took the whole lip, split it directly in 2, and then this came with it, you know. And I've had one go through the ear when I was at the Oakley or whatever. It got me in the water on the head.
Do you have the footage of them biting your head?
I got one, yeah. It's a very quick thing. It's on that same video, I believe. No. You can put the ones in the link. So there's a couple of bite videos.
You guys will be able to see finger bite and the face bite inside of the video. We'll put it in now.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's your trick, right? The one where you got your finger bitten off. It's like a pop catch.
A pop grab, yeah.
Yeah. How fast do you have to be to do that?
So for that, like I said, that's like, that for me is all gut feeling, and that's where it went wrong with the finger or whatever. Like, I didn't feel it. It's usually like, I can't explain it. It's like a feeling that I'll get in my chest and my gut. Like, I know when it's time, and it's almost like simultaneously as you're withdrawing one hand, you got to be on the way. And the danger obviously is that you're trying to catch a gator's mouth while it's closing. So you have to worry about, number one, while he's closing. If you're too fast like I was, your hand or finger's going in there, and you could lose it, obviously. Or, as soon as they pop those jaws, if they don't feel anything, they immediately open it up. So if you're too slow, you got another mouth open too. So it's a rough one. So you gotta be like, I don't know, like if it's super fast, more so than like being in tune with the alligator. You gotta try and make me hit a mousetrap now.
Yeah, you think you're fast, right? You think you're good.
Set it up, dude. Let's give it a shot. Why not? All right, so if I do it, then you gotta try it.
Oh, man. I'll just put my hand in. I know I'm not fast enough.
How bad did it suck? It sucks, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this is a little bit, this is kind of like, I mean, it's almost like the catch, really, because it's not like jaw popping where you're kind of on the way out. This is almost like the catch where you got to be quick enough to get it out.
I'll tell you now, it hurts more when you fast. Nervous?
Let me see how fast this thing is.
Oh, it's fast.
Oh, good God.
It's fast. It's got real hot here just now.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
So I gotta do it now?
Go ahead.
Might as well stick my hand in it because I know I'm not gonna be able to.
Are you right here? You set it up. I think I had balls anywhere there in my throat right now, dude. Woo! I think
You gotta teach me the technique.
for that, like, I don't know if I would go in slow, like, okay, so if we're doing like alligators, you want to be on the way out kind of thing. For this one, like, it's a real, like, you gotta like in fast and out fast at the same
I'm not
time.
really in fast and out fast kind of person.
Yeah, not like you just did at all.
Oh, you come.
You get in, get out, man. Like,
I think I have to stand up for this thing. Oh, God. Your kids are good at hearing curse words if I get hit.
oh, they've heard everything that you could
I
possibly.
think I might just have to hit my hand because I know it's going to hurt. If I get hit, because think about it, if I get in my nail.
Cuticle sucks. It's gonna suck. But I think if you just, you know what I'm saying? I got feet. Oh, that would have been it. That would have been it.
God! Ah! I can't do this.
Do it! Just do it!
So I'm starting to sweat now. It's cold in here. I'm starting to sweat. I can't do this. I'm about to say F it, just put my hand in it. Oh God, it's gonna hurt so bad. Come on, just hit it.
I think you got it if you do it like that, dude. I think you got it.
I'm gonna stack it like that. 'Cause I think
Ooh, I don't think
that's
you'll be able
faster.
to get out fast enough like that.
I got. I can't do this. You have to have good accuracy. My accuracy is not on point.
I think if you close your eyes, it'll help.
No way, no.
No, it's not gonna help, dude.
Oh, I felt it. I think I felt it.
You almost had it, dude. You almost had it.
All right, let me just say F it. Just.
Yeah, dude, that's a true gentleman right there.
That hurts.
He knew he wasn't getting out of that.
So much.
Just take the pain. Just take the
He
pain.
kept his word.
That hurts.
I think there was gonna be something like that right here.
So, Justin, we know that you're very passionate about the animals under the care of the others within the industry. What message do you hope to deliver through your YouTube channels and social media?
Like I had said before, for me, like, you know, the animals, it's not just, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you have to put a monetary value on everything. So, like, we do what we do because we have to feed families, we have to make money. Like, the reality of the world is like, you gotta make a dollar to survive. So I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, doing something that I love, but too often, especially in this industry, like, people just put the dollar amount on the animal, and the animal means absolutely nothing. That's it, that's as far as it goes. Like, it's a means to an end, and they could care less whether it lives or dies. They could care less if it's in good condition. Like, people import, export, all that stuff, and, you know, they'll shove animals in a tiny box so they won't do anything with it, just hopes to sell it, and then, like, they'll be tossing animals out like it's no big deal, like throwing them away. So for me, like, I'm heavily involved in conservation all over the place. I show up at these events, we do fundraising, we raise money for everything because I truly care not just about the animals that we keep, but also, like, we can all make a difference in the wild, and there's not enough of that going around. So for me, like, a lot of times people will ask me about the FAWC specifically. When that video went out and went viral about my finger or whatever, like, everybody's like, oh, well, you know, you're just teasing the alligator, you're just this and that and whatnot. And my response to that is this, it's like, you know, if there was another way to do the entertainment and get the amount of traction that we get with the alligator wrestling, then we would go that route. But two, like, people forget, it's a cultural thing. Like for the Seminoles, the alligator meant a lot to their whole culture and their way of life, and it got them through some really tough times. So they had that symbiotic relationship with the alligator where, you know, then they started doing shows, they could raise money for their families and stuff. But the FAWC alone, like, look at the show When I Lost My Finger. You know, James went out and bought all these alligators from these trappers, spent a lot of money on these alligators, and had we not done that, those alligators would be dead, like, already. They were already been turned into handbags and stuff, and it's all for, you know, a silly phone call that somebody will make, oh, there's an alligator in my backyard. Not bothering anybody, but then that animal's put down. So James goes out, they have to do a 6-minute show, and the trade-off is that after the 6-minute show, they got to go out to Billy Swan Safari. It's 22,000 acres of, like, pure alligator bliss, bro. Like the best habitat that you could possibly imagine, away from all civilization. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. So those alligators now get a second chance at life because of what we did. So, like, you know, I hope, you know, over time that I'll get enough traction to, like, light a fire under everybody's ass and check everybody. And that's something that we don't have enough in this industry, is like, we don't govern ourselves at all, dude. Like, until a law gets changed or something crazy happens, like, nothing's being done. And I'm just not like that, dude. Like, I will call anybody and everybody out, like, if I see a situation that's unfair for the animals, because it's truly like, they can't do anything. They can't change their situation. They can't give themselves food. They can't give themselves water. And if I see that, you know, being overlooked and neglected, then yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna call you out. Dude, like I said, there was like, I had more animals than I could ever care to think about before. So I try and keep it like to a minimal things. I got my little homie right here. I don't name my reptiles either, by the way. I call everything. Even when I name my animals, it's usually like my pig. Her name is Bacon for the kids, but I call it Pig. You know, I had a bobcat named Bob the Cat. Any bird that I have is named Bird, Bob the Cat, yeah. So I keep it like, but we got Turtle and Mr. Croc down here. So it's a Nile Croc and it's a Congo mud turtle, both from Africa. And they like I said, they love each other. They're reptiles, but they definitely hang out together and they get along well. Super camouflage. That's my favorite part about them. They call them a leaf-tailed gecko because the tail itself looks like a leaf. Most leaf-tailed geckos have a big long tail. They call this a spear point, obviously, because it's a tiny little spear-looking thing. But let's see, if you saw that in the wild or you passed by it, you'd have a rough time ever finding out that that's a lizard. I used to keep a lot of venomous, and I still have some venomous in here, but the venomous that we have here.
Don't bite me, man.
Yeah, leave his toes alone, piggy. The venomous that I have here, none of them are actually mine. So my buddy still does the import-export, and the animals that he wants to keep in his collection, he'll put here first to quarantine. So we quarantine all these animals, and what we'll do is we worm them, treat them, so we give them meds and stuff while they're here, and then we'll swab them and send in those swabs to a lab to find out if they're carrying certain viruses. So there's like a couple of common viruses that'll like wipe out entire collections. So we keep them here, we run the worming, we do the swabs, and then once they're all good to go, they'll go to my buddy Joe's house. So it kind of like allows me to still do the venomous thing, but I don't want a whole bunch of reptiles. I don't want things to soak up my life the way that it used to. So we have all these. These are little bush vipers. They're all bush vipers, same species, but they're called a variable bush viper because they come in all of these different colors. So you got blacks, greens in here, two orangish red females that are pregnant. They're gonna have babies, and these guys give live birth. They don't lay eggs. And then I got my cobras down here. These guys are monocle cobras. You guys are gonna want to take a slight step back. I'll pull away out. So these little homies are.
I hope Boss Man is nice.
He's not. I'll kill you.
No,
So extremely beautiful snake though. The cobras are my favorite. But again, like not something I would recommend anybody to keep for any reason whatsoever. It's not a good idea. So that's the defensive posture. They just want to make themselves look big. And they call it a monocle cobra because, so that's why they call them a monocle cobra. There's a big circle in the back, hence monocle. They have another one that's called a spectacle cobra, and there's two on the back or whatever, hence the spectacle. And essentially what it is just a way to make predators, if he's focused on something in the front and something comes at him from behind, it looks like a big eyeball kind of gives him a chance to ward off other predators. When they say they have the intelligence level of a third grader, and we just started this stuff like literally like a couple of days ago. She's already picking up on it. Pig, sit. Good, pig, good pig. We're trying to do left turns now too. Come here, pig, left, come here, pig, I know there's more, left, good, pig, good, pig. Can you do that one more time for me, left, come here, pig, left, left, good, pig, good, piggy, you're so good. Super smart, I love this thing. This must be your deal. Fat, lazy, you know what I'm saying? That's like all
Eats all the time.
all about. Yeah.
Now you guys know more about Justin and who he is and his outside life.
Bam.